How's it going, agents? And welcome to my Division 2 video on assault rifle weapon talents. This will actually be my first Division 2 instructional video that I'm going to post since I started playing at launch, and I've decided on a topic that I've been helping many players with recently, and that topic is AR weapon talents. Let's go ahead and dive right into this, but first, if you'd like what you see and would like to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and send it a like, and as always, comments are welcome. Disclaimer on this video is basically based on my opinion and gameplay uh, through trial and error and a lot of time at the shooting range. Um, so let's go ahead and get into this. Okay. Now, when it comes to weapon talents, what I've done is I've broken the weapon talents down into three separate categories. The first one being raw damage, the second one being on kill, and the third being utility. We'll go ahead and cover the utility first. Um, what I consider utility talents would be first one would be fast hands. Critical hits add a stack up to 4% reload speed bonus. Max stack is 40. Then I'd go down to steady-handed. Hits grant a stack of 1% accuracy and stability at 100 stacks. It consumes the stacks and refills the magazine. Spike headshots grant 20% skill damage for 8 seconds. Reformation headshots grant 30% skill repair for 8 seconds. Perpetuation headshots grant 50% status effect damage and duration to the next status effect you apply with a 20-second cooldown. Nearsighted receive 80% stability at the cost of 35% optimal range. On empty, reloading from empty grants 30% weapon handling for 10 seconds. And overflowing, every 3 reloads from empty increases your base magazine capacity by 100%. A lot of people would consider measured as part of this category, but I don't, and you'll see why later. Utility talents basically depend on what you're trying to do with your build as they accentuate and add to what you already have going on. Say, if I'm running a crit build and I want a little more reload speed, I'd go with fast hands. Critical hits add a stack of 4% reload speed bonus. Max stack is 40, so potentially I can get up to 160% reload speed bonus and get below that 1.5% reload speed that I can't seem to break. Steady-handed, I really wouldn't use as to get that 100 stacks to consume and refill the magazine. I figure I get more bang for my buck elsewhere. If I'm running a skill DPS build, I'll run Spike. That way I can get the 20% skill damage for 8 seconds from a headshot. And I just read, according to the PTS notes from TU10, they're upping the duration of that from 8 seconds to 15 seconds. I do use Reformation a lot, especially if I'm running a healing build, or a lot of times if I have my healing drone running over me and I'm running around, I'll use that on a gun. And if I get a headshot, I get more skill repair for 8 seconds. Perpetuation is great from running a status effect build. It just depends on the type of build I'm running. Nearsighted, if I'm running a headshot build, I'll turn my AR into a laser beam. On empty and overflowing, I never really use. The only time I use overflowing is on the named AK-47, which I only need 2 reloads to increase my base magazine capacity because it has perfect overflowing. On empty, I'm interested to see what happens with Title Update 10 because according to the PTS, they are changing weapon handling, so that could have some interesting repercussions later on, and we'll revisit that. My favorite is probably Fast Hands, Spike, and Reformation. The second category of talents I talked about were the on-kill talents. Those would be Killer. Killing an enemy with a critical hit grants 40% critical hit damage for 10 seconds. Preservation. Killing an enemy repairs 10% of armor over 5 seconds. Headshot kills improve the repair by additional 10%. Close and Personal. Killing a target within 7 meters grants 30% weapon damage for 10 seconds. And Vindictive. Killing an enemy with a status effect applied grants you and all allies within 15 meters 15% critical hit chance and 15% critical hit damage for 20 seconds. If I had to rank these, I would probably go Killer, Preservation, Vindictive, and Close and Personal. Killer because the meta right now are critical hit builds. So a lot of people are running 50 to 60% critical hit chance. So you have a good chance of proccing Killer. Um, my personal favorite is Preservation. I'd put this at number 2. Killing an enemy repairs 10% of your armor over 5 seconds with a headshot kill, improving an additional 10%. So you get a headshot kill, and you can repair 20% of your armor over 5 seconds. Great, because I always need more armor. Vindictive I like to use if somebody's using a status effect build, or I am. And it's a great buff for the group. 15 meters, a lot of times group members are within that range. The only drawback to this is since crit builds are the meta right now, the 15% crit chance may not be all the way applied, as crit chance is capped at 60%, which is why I try and run in the 50s. Try and run closer to 50 if I can to maximize my crit hit damage. And then Close and Personal I'll put last, simply because 7 meters grants 30% weapon damage, which is a lot for 10 seconds, but 7 meters is very close, and a lot of times I try not to be that close to an NPC or an enemy. And last are the raw damage talents. These are Breadbasket. Landing a body shot adds a stack bonus of 35% headshot damage to the next headshot for 10 seconds. Max stack is 3. My favorite, Optimist. Weapon damage is increased by 3% for every 10% ammo missing from the magazine. Very popular one right now with crit builds being the meta. Strain. Gain 10% crit hit damage for every half a second you are firing. Stacks up to 5 times, so that'll give you up to 50% extra crit hit damage just by firing your weapon. Ranger amplifies, and amplifies meaning it's multiplicative, amplifies weapon damage by 2% for every 5 meters you are away from the target. And then I actually like Measured in this group. The top half of the magazine has a 20% rate of fire increase and a 30% weapon damage decrease. The bottom half of the magazine has a 20% rate of fire decrease and a 30% total weapon damage increase. I'll show you why when we get down to the firing range, but I really like this one in the damage category. And then there are the status effect ones, which I kind of grouped together: Eyeless, Ignited, and Sadist. They all give you 20%, I believe, 20% extra weapon damage to either blinded enemies on fire or enemies that are bleeding. And after 4 kills, you will automatically apply that status effect to the next enemy you hit. So those are more situational. You need to have the status effect, or you need to apply it to be able to get that bonus. So I put those at the bottom of the list. If I had to choose, number 1 would either be Strained or Optimus, followed by Ranger, Measured, and Breadbasket. And we'll go ahead and head down to the shooting range now, and I'll test out the damage talents and show you the numbers that each one of them generates.